Hey everyone, welcome to the OLM issue triage meeting, a working group meeting rather. Today is the 10th of October, and it looks like, oh, yes. So we start off with the briefs and the RFCs. It looks like there are two briefs and three RFCs. Actually, two briefs, and this is just the template. For some reason I cannot seem to edit it. Okay, two briefs and two RFCs under review. It looks like redesign Ruckpack APIs has the consensus date for today. I don't know if anybody wants to talk specifically about any of these.
Redesign of Ruckpack API since the last day is today and it's been open for 2 weeks. Just an announcement that I'm going to mark this as accepted by end of the day if there are not any breaking comments against the proposed design. So please review, and if there are any, let me know if you want to change the design of API or anything.
Okay. If we just want to announce the other RFCs and the briefs, then I guess we can move on to old action item.
Well, let me just mention that the OLM V1 RBAC management RFC for user RBAC, that is very close to being done. I'm more than willing to accept comments before I consider it done and start doing the consensus. So feel free to start looking at it.
Do we have a?
No, I haven't. So I mean, literally, it's probably going to be at least 2 weeks away.
Okay. Okay.
It's really just, this is an announcement that it is nearing completion but feel free to start commenting.
Oh, so this is going to be moved from the draft stage to ready to be reviewed stage.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah, it's still in draft. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wants to talk about the briefs? Okay.
I don't know, Jordan might not be here, so I'll try to represent his briefs, but the first two are about deprecation of catalog artifacts. So give those a look. It's essentially about, like, if you want to deprecate a package or a channel or a bundle, there's going to be a new API that you can use in the catalog FBC to do that. And then these briefs are probably more about how do we consume those APIs and make them visible so that as a cluster administrator, you're able to see if you've got a deprecated bundle installed or if you're subscribed to a deprecated channel or package. So yeah, give those a look if you're interested in deprecation.
Yeah, so these are a spin-off from the original one, right? The FBC one?
I believe so. Yeah, we sort of split it into three pieces because they essentially end up with like three different places to do implementation.
Gotcha.
So the FBC one is just about, like, how would I declare this in the catalog? And then the OLM V0 one is like, what are we going to do to make this work in OLM V0 and to make it visible? And then the V1 is the same thing, but for V1. So the APIs are going to be the same in the catalog, but then the implementations will clearly be a little bit different just because of the different components of OLM.
So just a kind of a bookkeeping question. So these briefs, do they get automatically approved just at the end of the cycle, or because I noticed there are still some unresolved questions in the parent one, but I think they were done after the date. Yeah, that one there. Let's see here. Yeah, so this one on the right here. Yeah. So not understanding the, like, for example, why we're not annotating the original objects versus, yeah. So I think it's not clear on exactly the life cycle of these and how they're supposed to work. And maybe have that document somewhere. I couldn't find it.
I don't know what happened with this one specifically. My guess is that we got to the consensus date and there was nothing blocking, and so we said like, yep, we're good to go here. That doesn't mean that we can't have further refinement and improvement on, you know, the contents of the document, but I think what it does mean is like, this is the direction that we're going to go in general.
So just another question. So how does it get approved then? Did you guys have like a meeting on the side that approves these things, or do they just automatically go approved?
I think the author just moves it to approved if they see that there's no more discussion going on. Maybe we need to think a little
I guess
bit
I don't.
more.
Yeah, what does approved mean?
So I think it's important to recognize that like the purpose of these documents is not anything that's written in here that's approved is gospel, right? Think of it more like the first step in the KEP process in Kubernetes, right? Like really the goal of this doc is to build consensus. And so this doc being marked approved really just means the community looked at it. Some people felt like there were a bunch of reasonable stuff in here. There weren't a ton of comments that were problematic. And so we're marking it as approved to say, now folks can go work on that and try to build software based on it. And with the expectation that if they go and make pull requests, that generally the consensus kind of already was built and there's not going to be like a fundamental design conversation that happens at PR time. That doesn't mean that everything that's in this doc is just already agreed on and pull requests will get rubber stamped. It just means that like we had the conversation. Does that kind of make sense? So
Sort of.
to
Just saying approved versus complete. It seems like it should be called complete. The brief was completed, but the approval, no one's actually approved it other than the submitter thinks in his personal opinion or her personal opinion that it's okay, right? So I'm just there's no workflow, and I guess I'm not familiar with the KEP process myself. So if I can go ahead and read that, I guess. And
yeah,
yes.
but I think you're onto something that like maybe the terminology is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I always thought approved meant like, Joe, you looked at it. I'm good. Thumbs up.
I mean, I have looked at all of these, but it wasn't like I'm not the approver either.
Yeah, so you can self-approve it.
I think it's generally like a trust thing, right? If you're a brief author, you're expected to collect, you know, all of the feedback, and if there's no dissent and it's met the date, then yeah, you can self-approve. But maybe we need, you know, maybe we need to change the terminology so that it's more obvious that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I would suggest that we get rid of the concept of approval. Like we hit lazy consensus, good to go.
Yeah.
The folks in the consulted section, I think there's a little bit of implicit sort of understanding that they've looked at it and they are okay with that too. So I think that's how we got to the approval sort of terminology, but yes, we can change that to complete and still gets the work done. I think it's important to also remember that although these documents don't show it, but we'll in the draft, you can see it. There are other fields like defunct, which sort of proves, or which sort of is more of a bolster to what Kevin was saying, that this is not supposed to be gospel. We can easily say complete and then come back and say this is defunct and replaced by something else. So yeah, maybe if we just change that to complete, I think that gets us.
Yeah, I think that would help me at least understand what the purpose is. And there's also, it feels like there should be something in there that allows us to say, hey, somebody, because sometimes they're silent. Like I get busy for a couple of weeks at a time and I completely don't get a chance to miss it. I think it might be beneficial to have some kind of fingerprint on it saying, hey, I did look at this and I didn't have any comments. So you can at least see who might have actually had the eyes on it and just didn't have any comments about it. At least you have some, there's just no way for me to do that other than I could put a comment on it saying, hey, I looked at it, thumbs up.
Yeah, I like that idea. Just have like a table at the bottom that lets reviewers say they reviewed, essentially.
Yeah, sorry for coming in late. I know this has been in process for a couple of months, but I'm just I was busy, so I couldn't ever do a lot of reviews on these. And so now I'm just getting involved in it. So I just want to make sure I'm doing it right.
Yeah, totally reasonable. I think what's important here is that like we're kind of making this up a little bit as we go along. So I think that like there's lots of room here for adjustments and improvements and things like that. Because I do want to reiterate that like the goal of this process is not to have an approval process so that whatever is written in these documents is what must be implemented. And it's really just a mechanism so that we can kind of have these sort of open conversations with the whole community.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so my job is I'm trying to digest this for my whole company, and I'm trying to bring forward the pieces that I think are interesting and are going to affect other people, so not everybody does the same thing. And yeah, so I'm just trying to understand that. So one other question is, there's basically, it looks like there's two categories of these documents, briefs and RFCs. Are there other ones? Are there going to be like RFEs, things like that too, or are those really the two?
For now, it's just the briefs of the RFCs.
Okay.
And I don't think we're at all considering expanding to more.
Okay.
Okay. I seem to have logged in with the wrong email account. So if someone can help me take down the action item to review the suggestions about renaming. Thank you, Joe. The approve to complete.
And maybe add a section at the bottom to
Fingerprint.
fingerprints. Yep.
Okay. Okay, while Joe does that, I guess if we feel like we've gotten everything we want out of that conversation, then we can move on to the old action items checkpoint section. Okay. It looks like there were two that's crossed off as completed. Clean up DEPI milestones. Mikolai, Per, I don't know if you guys are here.
Yep. I think we can mark that as completed if Mikolai is okay with it. I've cleaned up all the issues there, and I don't think, at least for this run, there'll be much in DEPI. There's a few things we need to do, something like, like documentation and release automation, add a few more tests, and I think there's a small bug to be fixed, and that's it so far. So I think in terms of the problem building stuff, I think we'll defer that until it's something that's required. And in the meantime, we'll just follow a kind of more monolithic approach by building the problem out.
Okay.
Just a quick thing. Yeah, thanks for helping to clean up this stuff. But I think the only thing is which we still need to do is to have a milestone. So we started looking into what will be in the next milestone, but haven't completed it yet, I think. So it might still make sense to keep the milestone clean up.
Okay, cool. I think I'm back with the right account too. So let's see. Yep. Okay, so we'll mark this as complete.
Oh no, I think Mikolai said we should leave it. We just need to, I guess, collect the issues into milestones. So it's almost complete.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that part because I was changing accounts. Okay, cool. I'll leave that as it is, and then we can come back. Just so that do you want us to come back next time? Okay. Someone's already. Thank you, Joe. Okay, moving on to discussion topics then. Looks like Bryce, you've got something.
Yeah, I have a demo of a catalog D CLI for getting and looking at catalog contents. Played around with it this weekend, but I'll just go ahead and share my screen. And can folks see the terminal okay? I'm not gonna be able to see the Zoom meeting, so if folks have any questions or anything, feel free to just blurt them out.
We can see your terminal.
Cool. So I have a kind cluster running with catalog D installed, and I have a operator hub IO catalog that's been unpacked. So traditionally, you'd have to do like a kubectl. You'd have to port forward for the catalog server, and then you'd like curl and get this all.json, and then just to see like packages, you'd have to do like JQ. Something along those lines. I don't have JQ installed on this. Anyways, you'd have to do like this curl request to get the contents. But so instead of doing this curl request now and having to do the port forward, what I did is I created a little CLI, and you are able to now just do list schema OLM package, and it'll show you all the package objects in all the catalogs across the cluster. Right now we only have the operator hub catalog installed, so it's only doing that one, but you could use the catalog flag here and do operator hub IO, and it would only get from the operator hub IO catalog. If you don't specify a schema, it will list all the schema contents. So here we can see we have all the OLM bundles, channels, and packages. And so kind of the format here is like we'll print the schema, and then we'll print the package that it belongs to, and then the name of the object, the FBC object. So in this case, we see like this particularly here is the OLM.channel for the gigabyte operator, and it's the alpha channel. So there's also, if you wanted to, for example, we'll list all the channels for the Zookeeper operator package. So we see there's alpha, beta, stable, and there's also a command to inspect. And so what we do is we can inspect, say, I want to see what's in the stable channel. I can inspect the OLM.channel name stable for the Zookeeper operator package. And it will print a JSON output of what's in that channel. So that whole FBC blob is printed out, and we can look around and we can see that the channel head for stable is v0.17.6. So if I want to make sure that I'm interested in installing the latest stable version, and I want to see what that is, I can find it and then go do that. But that's kind of just a quick demo. If there's anything that people want me to run while I'm here, feel free to let me know. But just
it's a quick question. So is this does this handle arbitrary schemas? So if I created my own schema and put it in the FBC, I'd be able to inspect those as well?
Yeah, it should.
Okay. So it's just package, it's package attribute aware and name attribute aware?
Yeah.
For arbitrary ones? Okay.
Yep. So the only If you look at the FBC documentation on the OLM site,
Yep.
this is all based on like the meta
Yep.
schema, which is just like any FBC object has to have these certain properties, and so we just care about those properties.
Yeah, so
that's why-
name was optional until recently. So I want to make
Mhm.
sure that you're using name. And then package is optional. So those are
Yep.
the only two real ones that are there now. Yep, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so like just for example, OLM.package objects, they don't have the package field.
Yep,
So we
they
just
just
don't
have
print
name.
it.
Yep, yep, perfect.
So, and then if you do like OLM.channel, you'll see that it has the package name along with it.
Bryce, one thing I would point out is that the OPM, there's an OPM alpha list subcommand, which is very similar, although not quite the same. But for like, you tell it basically a catalog image or like an FBC directory locally, and it'll do a similar thing. Although it is not generic enough to do the thing that Chris just asked about. So it at least knows, like, I know what package, channel, and bundle mean, which is honestly, that's still why it's an alpha subcommand, because we know that like that probably needs to change. But anyway, just for anyone that is interested in doing a similar thing with offline catalogs, that OPM alpha list command exists and gives you a similar output.
Yeah, the key thing here is that this is because catalog D is using an HTTP server running that serves the catalog content. This CLI knows how to interact with that rather than you having to do the port forwarding and stuff. Behind the scenes, it does do the elevated permission like proxy through the service. But for now, that's like a rough edge, and I figured it was okay for just quick proof of concept. But
one more question, Bryce. If you did have multiple catalogs installed, I think I heard you say like this will show you everything if you don't specify the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
Does the output contain the catalog name at that point, so you can differentiate between the trivia operator alpha channel and the foo catalog versus the bar catalog?
It doesn't, but it's something that could be easily added.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And Bryce, just to make sure that I'm getting this right, you mentioned that behind the scenes it's doing that port forwarding of the service, and then JQ essentially it's getting rid of that requirement from users and pre-printing it. But it means that requires elevated permissions, which means it can be used by an admin only, right? Like it requires admin.
Yeah, I mean, so you could create RBAC that allows users to proxy through the catalog D catalog server service, and they would have access through it that way. But right now, you have to have permissions to do the proxy sub resource on the catalog D catalog server service.
Okay.
Cool. So if there's no other questions or anything like that, I will stop sharing.
Okay. So we are halfway through. And we have our milestone check-ins left. So let's go ahead and start checking into our milestones. Catalog D v0.8.0. I think we are very close to finishing off yeah, this is an epic. I know last time we talked about putting these task lists on the milestone too. I just haven't had any time to do that, but essentially, I think this Epic, Bryce has a PR which is very close. I reviewed that yesterday. I know Joe's approved it, so that's about to go in. The polling PR, which doesn't look like it's showing up here. Okay, so it looks like we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. But I guess the update is we are very close to merging the direct registry unpacking client PR, and following that will be the polling PR. So you'll have the polling feature very soon in catalog D. And we are working towards the rest of the items for 0.8.0. Does anybody else want to highlight anything else about this milestone? Okay. Operator controller. Looks like we have 3 closed issues and 3 open issues. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything other than it's in progress.
I'm curious on number 407, whether we are tracking that needs to be done in terms of like who's going to do it. Because I think I added that as a follow-up to one of the other things where we thought we were almost done, but then we wanted to make sure to document this support. I think, let me see. Todd, this was your epic, right? I don't know if you knew about this or if I haven't mentioned it, but I just want to, if you.
Yeah, so I did. I'm trying to think, did I? No, I don't think I documented that yet. So this is something I did work on, but I have not done any documentation for it. I did see this, I think last week, but I was working on other stuff.
Okay, can we assign this to you?
Sure.
All right, thanks.
TM. TM short.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you've anything else, Joe, or anybody else? It looks like we have these Bumbrack pact of.
I guess Nikolai, is Nikolai here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I think Bump Rock Pack still needs a bit of work because I think CI is failing. There is a PR for that, but I had a brief look at this and you still need to comment on it. And the other issue about firmware upgrades, there is a PR open and waiting for feedback.
Okay, so basically nothing at risk, all looking good.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so it looks like Kevin has a PR for this. Should I assign this to Kevin?
Yeah, let's do that for visibility. I think it's a good idea. Thanks.
I think that PR, and Kevin, I don't know what your thought on this is, but we were just debating yesterday in Slack how to make the CI tests pass. The reason that the Dependabot PR didn't just pass is because we had a brittle test that was very particular about the rug pack conditions. And so we were debating, like, do we just update the brittle test to like do the new thing with the new version of rug pack and it's still brittle, or do we go ahead and change the tests to not be brittle? So I don't know, Kevin, if you paid attention to that or.
I actually did, like right before this meeting, I pushed another commit. Well, I modified my commit so that it would make those tests less brittle. There's another flake, I think, is what's actually happening in the ETE test, though. And I'm not sure what is causing that. So I was gonna, if I have some time today, try to take a look at it.
my guess is it just takes a while to become healthy, and we just don't get there fast enough.
That seems like that's what's happening. It seems like sometimes the bundle itself is just not healthy yet.
Why don't we just not, I know this is now getting into review, but like, let's just take out the thing that cares about the healthy condition.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Kevin, I'm happy to help and look into this tomorrow. So if you need any assistance, so just drop me a message at the end of your day where you are with this, and I will try to take a look.
I probably only have like another hour or so to take a look at this today before I give up. But I think probably all I need to do is just like remove that one healthy check. I would like, my preference would be we could write something that made that test a little bit smarter, but that's a lot of technical debt for something that frankly I'm not sure I buy the value prop of this specific ET test anyway. But yeah, let's talk offline.
Kevin, I think the idea I have there is when operator controller eventually cares about whether something is healthy, that's when we'll then need to, check to see if the thing was healthy. Because essentially, like, the whole point of that healthy condition was eventually to bubble up to the operator controller so that it could make decisions about when to do upgrades. And essentially, like, by default, don't upgrade if the thing is unhealthy. And then also probably a knob that lets you upgrade even if it's unhealthy. But until we get to that point, it's probably fine to just let RuckPack do its thing with that condition, and we don't care about it.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense to me.
Okay, cool. I guess that's that for the operator controller milestone. All right, I'll move on to RuckPack. Wait, I thought we said okay, RuckPack. Yeah, we said no, that was for Deppy. Okay. Who wants to say something about the RuckPack milestones? It looks like, oh, I think we talked last time about cutting a new release, v0.15.0, although there's nothing in here.
We just cut 0.14.0.
Okay.
And that's what we were just talking about, trying to bump in operator controller.
Okay, so this is here's a placeholder milestone for the stuff that's about to come in, which is why there's nothing in here.
And I don't think there's anything planned other than what Varsha might be looking at for the API changes, but
right.
I don't know if Varsha, you think that'll happen in the next couple of weeks or whether we're still a little ways out from making any changes there.
I could get the PRs for the API changes right away, but it would happen in chunks, not as a whole. So probably I can create new ones and add to the next month.
I think you might have implicitly mentioned that, but I think what I heard you saying is the issues will be coming up. So I'm trying to figure out if we should just leave this milestone as it is, delete this milestone, come back later on, or do we just not care about this right now and come back later on and see what happens?
You can leave this as it is. I can add issues to it and we can release.
Okay, cool. Okay. So that's the update for RuckPack. And then Deppy, we've already talked about that. So I think that was everything that was there in our agenda. Before we move on to looking for volunteers for the next host, does anybody else have anything else to bring up that hasn't been talked about?
Should we assign the action items?
Yes. Who wants to take this?
I will volunteer to do the first two.
First two, okay. Cool. And then collecting of the DEPI issues into a milestone. I think pair dropped, so that makes Mikolai the default assignee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think pair dropping means that he's the default assignee, right?
But that's a good point too.
I'm just kidding.
There you go. Cool. So we have the action items assigned. And then do we have a volunteer for the next meeting? For hosting? Okay, I guess
I'll
we'll
do it.
Alex, right?
Yep.
Cool. So I think that was everything then. Thank you, everyone. We can call this now. See you guys next week.
Thanks.